Brandi.
Hi there.
Welcome back.
Yes, good to see you.
It's been a minute since we've been in these chairs.
I know.
So I brought you here today because I just wanted to remind everybody and our members and the general public, whoever's watching this, what you do currently and what you just kind of did a big thing. So can you just explain to everybody?
Absolutely. Like so many of us, we wear so many hats.
Mm-hmm.
So the one that helps pay the bills, Deputy Commissioner at the Clinton County Board of Elections on the Democratic side. There's three of us from each party, just so people know real quick the setup. There's a commissioner, deputy, and election specialist for the Democrats and the Republicans at every Board of Elections in the county of the state of New York. The job I really like is being the chair of the Clinton County Democratic Committee. So that way I get in touch with all the other towns, see what's going on with them politically, positions that are up, how things are working with their town boards, and then help and find politicians and candidates to run for office. That's fun. And then in 23, I ran for Clinton County Clerk. We came really close. The gentleman that was in office.
Like 1,000 votes?
Yeah, like 1,000 votes. He had been in office for like 30 years. So we knew we were up against it, but we thought it was time for change. So we didn't walk away with that with any regrets. But if you had asked me afterwards, are you running again? It was no. And it was like a serious no. Because it takes a lot out of you. And just being human, putting yourself out in public, you know there's a chance you're going to be a loser.
Yeah.
And in the end, though, you have to let yourself know you're one vote. So that's it. That's the only thing you have control over in life is what you do. Mm-hmm. So we moved on from that, and loving my job at the Board of Elections, that helped soften the blow. But I found myself still saying no, no, no. And then probably 4 months ago, someone asked, well, are you going to run again? And I'm like, maybe. And then I was like, whoa.
It came out of your mouth.
I'm surprised my husband didn't run over and put his hand over, like, no. That we were no. And then it just became a yes because it's what I wanted for so long. Mm-hmm. It's what I've wanted for 12 years now, was to run for this position. And not just doing so flippantly. There was groundwork that needed to be laid. There's community work that needs to be done. You need to get to know the inner workings of the people that live here. So I needed to do what I felt was important work and investigation and growing myself before I was ready to run.
Yeah, and I've learned so much from you personally, and even just coming to the meetings and seeing how you basically run the meetings, and you're so respected, and I've been very honest about what I'm good at and what I'm bad at, and I haven't been, great up until recently to really being involved in local politics. But now that I am, I feel like I have a very keen sense to the people who are very genuine in their roles and why they've chosen to be leaders in the community. And then there's other people that I meet and I get a feeling like, why are they here? And that's for any party, mm-hmm. That's any party. And I can tell you are, along with some other amazing women I have met, you are one of the people that I'm like, she is super genuine and authentic. And you really are somebody who, I don't care what party you're on, like if you take the time to talk to you, if somebody takes the time to talk to you, they're going to get that sense. So for everyone's knowledge, though, A, what happens to your current position mm-hmm. if you do get elected? B, what does the new title and the new position mean for you? Like, what is the work behind that?
I have to say first, to go back just a little bit, that it's a lot of times we get in these positions and we get stale, or we just get involved in a group and it just halts, or we're okay with just churning in this one situation. And you came along and really sparked some new energy, and you have kept me on my toes ever since we met. It's not quite a year, but since we've been talking, almost a year.
Almost.
So thank you for that.
Oh,
and
you're
I
welcome.
feel the same about you. And I love the look that you bring to every situation, and you make me look at things differently. And that's important. That's what's important about having a group and having show up. And we're not only accountable to each other, but we can learn from each other.
Absolutely. Yeah, we
important.
don't want to always all be the same and agree with everything we say. And that doesn't look like support to me. Some of the best friends I have in my life sometimes challenge me.
Yeah, that's the word, definitely.
And not in an aggressive way, but just like, have you thought about it this way? Mm-hmm. And then there's a conversation about it. And I think that the more comfortable, because politics has become so this side versus that side, I do think that we have to remember that in our own party, how we keep ourselves accountable is inviting people with different opinions and viewpoints and learning to talk to one another without becoming defensive. And I think that that's a great and valid point, and I thank you for all those amazing compliments.
But yeah, moving forward, when with the county clerk position and any position that's from legislator up, you have to collect petition signatures in New York State to get on the ballot. And it's 5% of the electorate of that party, of that area, in the last governor's race. There's this whole formula. But thankfully, we have the
have
software.
numbers.
We have numbers. Yeah. So it's like 876.
Okay.
So we'll shoot for probably 1,500 signatures. And we can start that as soon as February 25th. So I'll be reaching out, and if anyone's around in Clinton County and wants to sign, registered Democrat, we'll do those definitely the bulk of March. We have to turn them in by around April 3rd.
Does it have to be ink signatures or can be electronic?
Ink. There's always we're always trying for that, right? We do everything that way. You can file
I feel like you
your
could get
taxes.
so many more electronic signatures.
Me too. It would be much easier. But the one good thing is you're seeing people when you're carrying them around, or people that are carrying them for you are talking to them not only about what they're looking to get a signature for, but what they're concerned with. I was going in the city 2 years ago, and I was stopped and, well, what am I going to do about these parking tickets? And I said, I will get the right person to call you. So just that engagement.
That's very true.
You have to see the positive of the situation of having to collect 1,500 signatures. I guess.
Seeing the positive.
I know, I try to see the positive.
Yeah.
And that's one of them. So once we get through that hurdle through the month of March, we're on the ballot, and it's full steam ahead to November 4th, Election Day. If we're successful, and I have no doubt that with the Show Up community and the others that we have with us, that we'll have no problem making sure that we get there.
Oh yeah. And then that new seat, so the Clinton County Clerk position. What do you do in that role?
So I'm sure everyone has been to the DMV, and that's what classically everyone thinks of with the DMV. And there's definitely room for improvement, just like we talked about with ourselves. The office, they have a great staff, but there's stuff they need to do a better job and be more accountable to the customers. I don't know why we go and stand in line for sometimes a half hour when you could just take a number and have a seat. When you're at the doctor's office and you're waiting forever, once you're on that phone, you don't realize that you just waited 20 minutes for your appointment. So just to make it more comfortable, maybe those that have a harder time standing and they want the face-to-face. They don't want to handle the transactions online.
Right.
A family-friendly area would be good off to the corner where there's maybe some books and toys for the kids to keep them happy and quiet so that parent isn't frazzled while they're there. I think there's also transactions that could be easily handled with a kiosk. There's just a few simple things that we could do, maybe some printable lists so that when you get there and you're told, oh, you need this form, who hasn't had that happen?
Oh, yeah.
Try to avoid any of those frustrations that make you walk away. And appointments. I think there's no reason why we can't have a couple slots for appointments every day. For those that run over on a lunch break.
So as the county clerk, you oversee DMV?
Yes.
Is that the only thing that you're overseeing, or is there other things off of that?
Yeah, so in addition to the DMV, the clerk's office. So that's where you may have gone for your passport photos, for a pistol permit. Okay. If divorce proceedings are held there, if you start a small business, all kinds of filings are done there. They're the keeper of the records for the county. So a lot of real estate agents, surveyors, abstractors use the office behind the scenes when you're going to buy that house or sell that house.
Yeah, that's a lot. And so moving forward, we're here for you. When you're ready for signatures, we're gonna be, keep your eyes out, folks, because we're gonna be doing some stuff to try to get people together to support Brandi and some other candidates, because we have a lot of open seats coming up in the following year, and we want to support especially me. I want to support the women, because we need more women in local politics. And not just because they're women. I just want to make that a point too, just because I think that there's a misconception amongst some people that think it's just because she's a woman they're voting for her or they're supporting her. And I will tell you that, I've never supported a candidate just based off of their gender. I think that's silly. However, I do think that there is a need in local politics for women to feel more comfortable. And I just had a conversation with somebody at a recent meeting who brought up a good point and said that a lot of times the women that are just starting to come to the meetings don't really feel comfortable running because they'll say, oh, I don't know enough. I don't know enough to run. She said, you don't really see that with the men. Men start coming to meetings and they are confident in both the things they know and don't know and go, sure, I'll run. And I just think that that's the thing that's lacking amongst women is some confidence that it's okay if you don't know everything. To just, we do have a couple districts that we have vacancies coming up that we need people to I'll call it be brave enough to kind of stick their neck out. And, but yeah, I think that there's a lot of potential in our community for some women to start getting involved. And so we'll be there for you when you're ready.
Thank you.
So recently, though, we were gearing up for a special election. And so there's been a lot of buzz around that. And then this past week, there was an announcement that all of the chairs in the 15 counties made a unanimous decision that Blake Genbian is our candidate for the Democratic ticket when it's announced.
When it's announced. Yeah, all those semantics that we have to use to be legal. But we have a candidate.
We have a candidate before the Republicans.
Yes.
And it seems like the Republicans are having some infighting about their candidate, which is fantastic. So I'm glad we made a decision sooner than them, and that we're really seeing a lot of people get behind him. He's local. He's a dairy farmer. He came to the MLK event. It was open to public, and he was more than willing to make the 3-hour drive to come and speak and, shake hands and meet some of the women that were in that room. And I know that you've personally had a lot more conversation with him. And so tell me about the process, how that worked, and what's ahead for Blake.
Okay. We started the 15 chairs with about 12 different candidates, I think, that officially threw their hat in the ring. They did everything that we needed them to, from their resume, letter of intent, their plan, what they had in place for a team. And after we all went over those, we held a Zoom meeting for them to introduce themselves to us and fully go over, actually about 3 or 4 Zoom meetings, for each of them to have sufficient time to go over that plan with us. A couple questions were asked. And then we got together as a group and were able to get it down to the top 4. And we met with the top 4 again, same process, a little more intense with the questioning. And then we discussed it as 15 chairs. We weren't allowed to vote on it yet because the vacancy doesn't technically exist.
Right.
So then Blake Genbian became our candidate. With the potential opening, he'll be our potential candidate.
Oh, I totally murdered his last name.
A lot of people do, and that's one of the first things he told me about.
Genbian?
So his wife is Carmen.
Okay.
Wonderful lady. I can't wait for everyone to meet her. And she told me, think of Jelly Bean. Jelly Bean, Genbian. Jelly Bean, Genbian.
Oh, God, thank you for that.
Yes, you're welcome.
Because I wanted to give it a hard G and B.
Right, it
Genbian.
does.
I just North Countryized that.
Yep.
So Genbian. Jelly Bean. Genbian.
Jelly Bean, Genbian.
Genbian. Okay, I got it.
Yeah, you'll be saying it in your sleep, right?
Yeah.
But no, he's...
Hopefully not. My husband will be like, what's
wrong with you?
Yeah.
But no, he's wonderful. His family's wonderful. They have 3. Their youngest son is finishing up high school. The other boys are at college doing their thing. And a lot of people ask, well, where have you been? Or where was he the last time? Or the last how many times we battled Stefanik, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't time for him. And you have to know that the timing has to be right for you to want to take something on.
You're not born into politics.
He didn't want to miss things with his kids. He was basketball coach of his son's team, and he asked the youngest, "We're thinking about this," and he's like, "Do it. I know you'll miss some of my runs, but we're ready."
That's awesome.
So they, as a family, decided it was time, and he is so ready. He's hit the ground running with raising money.
Oh yeah.
Which unfortunately it takes. And last I knew, he was approaching or over 300,000. And it'll take a lot more than that. It's disgusting how much money goes into running a campaign. It feels wasted in a way, but that's how they get the word out about who to vote for.
Yeah, and you touch on that real briefly. There was a lot of buzz before, even before he was chosen as the candidate that will be on the ticket when that's open, about illegal campaigning and collecting money when you're not the candidate. And so I just wanted to use this time as a reminder to everyone that there is campaign laws, and Blake has a phenomenal team from what I understand. I've talked to a couple of them. He's not a dummy, and I don't believe that he would be fundraising or collecting money if it was illegal or he shouldn't be. And I think that in this world of misinformation and mistrust, people have become sort of their first go-to is, what's the negative thing I can ask or think of? And so we have to be careful, because that I'd seen in a few groups and conversations where women and men, because it's not just in my group, questioning that. And so I'm glad that he is that he's going to be the candidate on the ticket, and that he's raising so much money. But we do, I think, have to continue going back to holding each other accountable for the things that we say, making sure that they're real and they're true, and then kind of looking at what's going on right now. Recently in the press, there was something Blake had said, I think it was 13 years ago, prior to him even thinking about being in politics, which I dare anybody who just decides to throw their hat into, any ring for a political position, be scrutinized for, just think of anything any of you may have said in your past, that if you decided to run for office, that anybody could just go and say, you said. If that is the worst, and I'm not trying to poo-poo it, but if that is the worst, I'm pretty sure that Blake is going to do okay. And then you also recently did some investigative work because of a rumor.
Yeah, a few things, because I'm one of those people, even when I meet someone, I may have heard all kinds of things about you, but I'm going to make my own decision about you. So I like to take a deep dive.
Same.
So, and I'm kind of monitoring the conversations and the comments that are made after a post that he was sharing on Facebook. So many positive, and I love seeing from all over the United States, wish I could vote for you, I sent you money, or good luck, or rooting for you from California.
Right.
It's great. But there will be criticism. You can't make everyone happy. But one that really stuck with me was, how can I trust you used to be a Republican?
Right.
And a few things happened in my head. My parents, my late dad, Republican. My mom's Republican. I have tons of family and friends that are Republicans. To me, that's not the end all, be all. It's who you are as a person.
Right.
Maybe he was, but I wanted to know, because I want to know when I'm asked, did you know he was a Republican? So I contacted a few people at Board of Elections in different places that he's lived, and he has never been a registered Republican.
Yeah.
So
squash that.
Yeah, and the comment came up because I have to pull out my phone so I get this right.
Yeah.
Because he sits on the Agri-Mark board.
Okay.
And if you take a look at Agri-Mark and politicians they've contributed to, you'll see that they have over time given money to Stefanik every couple years when she runs. And it's varied in the amount. And it was explained to me, though, that Agri-Mark has an independent committee, so not the board that he's vice president of. They have an independent committee of owners called ALEC, the Agri-Mark Legislative and Economic Committee. It's made of Democratic and Republican dairy farmers. They're member owners of the farms. And they make the decision on how much to give. And it's not just like a flippant, like, hey, let's give her 1,000. They have a whole algorithm, and they meet on it, and they decide.
Okay.
And if you'll look, they've also given money to Democratic candidates, or they've completely skipped. So he's being guilty by association, I guess, which happens to us in our lives day to day as well.
Right.
But looking into that further, it makes sense. He only had so much say as VP of this section of what's going on in this independent board that's a subsidiary, if you will.
Yeah, and a lot of this just comes down to people not having all of the information to understand. Processes are so complicated, and they're not as simple as I think people think they are. And so it's good to hear from you about this, because until you came here today, I also saw those things. And so to have something to speak to that's the truth, because you know people that you can reach out to, how does this work? And that's, I guess, goes back to when we hear things that we are like, oh, that doesn't sit well with me, is if you come to your town meetings, you come to your city meetings, come to your county meetings, that's the time to come with questions.
Absolutely.
Because it's not that you might have all the answers, but I feel like the people in that room will find them. And maybe they're not all great answers. Maybe there's, but that's the starting point. Not going on social media and repeating things that you don't know the real truth behind. And I think that that's the age we live in and the things that we're seeing now. And even on our side of, democracy here, and the Democratic side here, we're seeing a lot of women that are posting memes or half informations, and maybe some of it's true, maybe some of it's not, and I've really tried my hardest in the group to keep it to facts, keep it to, if you see a TikTok or a reel that you like, please find an informational article about it. We're just living in a world where we can't jump on social media and get all of our news from people's comments. That's not smart.
No.
So Moving forward for events, is there anything that the group should know to keep their eyes out for?
So we know it's going to be a super abbreviated time frame for the campaign. Once it's declared there's a vacancy, which I really want to clear up, Elise Stefanik can be confirmed for the position that she's being appointed to tomorrow. And then she doesn't have to step down until whenever they want her to or need her to. So there's some rumor that she may not step down until April 1st. And if that happens, then the election won't be until the end of June. So that's probably, that's my guess for the latest of it.
Right.
But we're kind of beholden to them deciding when they're actually going to have her step down and the seat be open.
Yeah.
So that part will be interesting.
We have some time between now. Well, we think we have some time.
Yeah, so I think our job is to get Blake out there, get to know him and his family, get to know where he stands. And I think he's telling his story so you know him as a person, and then his platform will come out and become more clear to everyone, because people that have followed him for a while now want to know what he's going to do once he's there.
Right.
So on the 23rd of February, we have a meet and greet coming up with him. That's on Sunday, the 23rd, starting at 10:30. He'll be around until about noon. He has another appointment at 2 that he has to drive to, and everyone knows there's some distance to cover.
There's a lot of geography.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that'll be the first. That's the first one we have planned. Once we have the details, Jesse's going to help us out.
Yeah, we'll get that out to all of you. Again, it's February 23rd, but we'll be making some flyers here soon and getting that out to everyone. We're hoping our friends here at Dakota North will be there to at least film it, so that we can, for those of you who can't make it, there's a lot of people that can't, drive, they're homebound, but they're very invested in what's happening. Don't worry, we're coming up with a plan for you so that you can see it. So anyways, thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
I'm very excited for you.
Thank you.
As you know, you have my full support.
Thank you.
And I know that there's an army of women behind me that also are there to support you. And I look forward to sitting down with you again soon.
Yes, me too. Thank you.
Thanks, Brandi.